Well, g'day folks. It's Friday the 27th of October 2023. Welcome to video ZF43. The last one was a big EA. There was I had a lot of. It was almost 2 videos worth of footage. So I got quite brutal. I was just wasn't even looking at the imagery. I was just editing the gap between every single breath or every words. I was just like, because on the bottom of the timeline you've got the actual audio, so if I paused to think about something or anything, I just edited it out, and so I closed the whole timeline right down as tight as I could. But it turned out to be a great video, and a lot of people loved it, so I was pretty happy with that, because it was really full of content. So this video probably going to concentrate on the hood lining, the carpet, putting the seat in, the back seat, center console. Won't put the front seats in yet because we've still got to finish off the dashboard. Yeah, so I think that'll be enough content for one whole video. I've just been up to the ZG. I did mark, see the, I don't know if you can see, I'll just zoom in. Okay, see the 2 little holes there, the 2 holes there, those ones, and those ones, and those ones up front. I did mark which hole was used with the hood lining, but of course I painted over them, and I totally forgot about it. So I've been up to the ZG because I did mark where these bows went, where they're in the top hole or the bottom. There's 2 holes, bottom hole at the front, bottom rear hole. I better get a pad. Took a little bit of the hardware off. It might be better than the stuff I've got. I mean, to be honest, I can't even remember where. It'll be in those bags down there. So I'll go through those bags and find the hardware. But I thought, well, it gives me 2 options. So I can pick the best. This is pretty grimy there, but I'm going to take them up to the kitchen and give them a good wash with warm water and detergent. And we'll see how we go. It could work a treat, So, yeah, I'll give them a good scrub off. And I took that off. It was really brittle. But that's, I think my one was brown. This one's parchment, which is good. It sort of matches. See, it doesn't really matter if the back edge is broken because it doesn't get seen. But it was stuck to all of the bloody. It's obviously had new windscreen put in at some stage, and they just poured in the sealant, and it sort of stuck to that. Anyways, still looks okay from the outside. So without further ado, we'll get straight into it. So you might be wondering why an upholsterer would buy a Rare Spares hood lining when I've got a sewing machine just there. To be honest, the quality of the patterns you get from this stuff's not that good. Oh, it's okay, you can get a good pattern, but man, that would take me 2 hours to cut and sew, dick around with. Probably more, and I'd have to buy calico, and you can't buy just what you need. You can't buy a little strip, you've got to buy a few meters at least. It's got to be the right weight calico for the ribs, and it's a pain in the butt. $200. Far out. Couldn't even buy the fabric for that. When you buy them from Rare Spares, I think it's about 170 for the hood lining plus a little bit extra they charge for. Yeah, so they give you a bit of fabric for the sun visors to reupholster those. Take you off the tripod and show you these sun visors. That's plastic welded edge around there. Now you can sew it and like a boot, slide it on there and hand stitch it down on the end there, but you never get that quality of finish around on the corners. Okay, so there's little puckers there, but if I was to sew that, you get bigger puckers. In mine, look at the colour. It's dull on, this is the driver's side, so that's the top section, so that's unseen. It's pretty close. It's got a bit of discoloration on the edge there. Now I've taken this up to the house and given it a wash already. This is the other one. That's the same condition. So that's the passenger side. It's so good having 2 cars. Just go through and pick the best of everything. So that's really smart. The original one off the ZF was grey, and this one's parchment, which matches the hood lining. So of course I'm going to use that one, and that one can go into the boot of the ZG. I'm trying to keep the ZG still complete. While I'm raiding parts off it, I'm just using it as an option. Gives me a better option for better parts. Because ZG is a little bit newer as well. So things like this, I mean, that I've just polished up and cleaned up, hit it with a bit of brake cleaner, because I can't be bothered going up to the house. And if I use a Scotch-Brite on that, it'd probably do a little bit of damage. So it cleans up really nicely. All these little pieces, you know. I want to get into that hood lining now, but it cleans up really well. Same colour. So with this hood lining, okay, we've got three little teeth, I guess you call them there, 3 teeth, which I don't really like, but they seem to have a purpose. And this section here, we've got a quite a pronounced sort of indentation. It's from the factory, and a few different shapes going on in there. And what they've done is this, I don't know if you can see how straight that is, but they've put these little pieces of sort of gang nail type stuff, which we call back tack strip, and it's screwed in, but it's sort of flexible. I don't like it. I'd rather insert a piece of plywood in there and staple my fabric to it, so I can have a fixed point instead of this flimsy bloody piece of wire which can bend in and out, and it would create an impression in the fabric. You know, I suppose you could pull it out and move it around and mould it a bit, but I just don't like it. So I'm going to insert a piece of ply into there, which is going to fill that void nicely, and I can just staple to it. And stapling gives me a lot more control over the puckers, because this area here is pretty notorious for puckering. So being able to staple the fabric forward and pull out puckers, it's going to work a lot better. So I'm just making a pattern up so that I can get a piece of foam in there. So as you can see, I've inserted a piece of plywood there just to give it a nice surface to fasten, nice straight surface to fasten to, rather than having that stupid bit of wire there. And the reason why I've spent a lot of effort in going around there is I want, when you clip the light in, I want it to clip into it, sort of a, you know, push into the foam, so it just gives that nice impression. So it's only about 3 or 4 mil thick foam. It's nothing radical. This is where the courtesy light comes in. So we've got that and that are the marks for where the courtesy light actually clips. We don't want to go any larger than that. That's the original. Yeah, it's pretty close fit. Horrible shit. Oh. It's good glue. So those black marks, there's 2 there, and 2 on the front door. There's 5 seams altogether. That's pretty much where I would expect the seams to go. So I'm just going to do some checking. You might notice that these panels are cut. They're cut like this. Okay, so it's straight there through the centre section, and then they tape it off, and they're sewn through there and sewn together. Now it gives a pouch, like a little pouch in there. But what I'm after is the measurement from seam to seam. Technically should be 235, 250. Okay, so the stretchage. Okay, so 250. So we're 15 mil out. Try the second one. Now, I mean, that's not stretched, so probably get 15 mil there straight away just by stretching it. That's 250. It's 260. So it's all right. That's 10 mil stretch. What's the next one? 230. 230. I've done a few of these things. Some of them are really easy. Some of them give you a hard time. The original. See how they've cut the calico back? Don't be afraid to do that, because they just finish them sort of more than what they need. That's number one. Number two. See, they're also colour coded. They're red on this side and white on the other. So I don't know what that's about. Three. Beautiful. So all the rods in. You'll see these clips here. There's 1, 2, 3. There's a fourth, and then the fifth is sort of up near the front. Now those are little tabs which the ribs clip into. They don't actually hold them, but it just keeps everything nice and straight. Like my good upholstery friends, you always mark your centres. Okay, you'll see a little pencil mark there, and there should be a C. Can't see it, but there's a little dart. Okay, that's the centre. Okay, we've got a centre there. It's panel 2. I can see the bottom of it. He's just put there panel 2, and there's a dart there. It's probably 3, or he's put a centre there. So now what that means, you have to put a little tiny cut in the calico to allow them to clip on. Okay, so do it with a Stanley knife. Be really, really careful not to cut that sewing, that stitch line. Okay. Now you only need to cut about 25 mil. Okay, so that's just so that you can clip them on. I watched about 4 or 5 videos last night on YouTube about hood linings. None of them explained this. It's so much easier to do it before it goes in. So this is the retaining strip which the vinyl glues onto there and tucks in. A lot of people don't do this, I'm sure. There's old glue on this. Now, firstly, old glue, which has been separated from the old vinyl, is lumpy, bumpy, pretty horrible. And secondly, when you put your new glue on there, the thinners in the new glue melt the old glue and it weakens the adhesion. So I'm just going to run this over the wire wheel on the bench grinder just to get all that glue off. So that didn't really get it, so I'm just going to, it softened it, but it didn't get it off. So I'm just a bit of Scotch-Brite and some old thinners here. You really got to get it off, guys. Come back and haunt you in about an hour when you go to try and glue up onto it. It's only that one surface. So that's good to go up now. We can screw that up. But before I do, there's one thing I want to do. I don't know if you can see up there. Is that ball of slag? Now that was there from the factory. So, but I don't want anything that's going to sort of interrupt with the fitment of the cover and you know, give it a lump underneath. It's a pretty grunty size piece. I'm going to hit that with a grinder. The other side's okay. It hasn't got one, but I don't want that. That's going to create a bump underneath the fabric. So I'll get rid of that. clipper in from the front first. Just going to tape that up so that you guys can see. Some rules that you've got to follow. Don't put any glue on anything until you know that the cover's pretty much in the right position. Don't even touch the C-pillars for the moment, okay? So get your seams straight and you can start applying glue, but you might see how it masks off the back window there. Only put glue where you want glue. Once you touch that cover to the glue, because you've got to glue the cover and you've got to glue the bead, once you touch that cover, you've got to make sure that it's in the right position, because as soon as you pull the cover off the glue, you're going to pull the glue off and you're going to get lumpiness, okay? And it's horrible. There are rules, but most importantly is clip your cover out first. Don't do the cut in your hood lining too early. Make sure the cover's in pretty much 100% the right spot. So you want all of the things that are inhibiting the cover from sitting perfectly. You want them all eliminated. You can see under there where the light globe is, I've got a little lump. Okay, so I've got to put a very small cut. If you cut too far, chances are you're going to overcut and you're going to see it. So just cut bare minimum of what you need. So the cover's quite nice. It's a really good fitting pattern. I've obviously done a few of them. Now I can see from there to there, that's where the light globe is. So all I want to do is just put a little cut just to relieve that so that the cover sits, you can cut it out a bit further later. So there you go. So that's alleviated a few more bits and pieces. And always refer back to your old cover, okay? Like especially where at the B-pillar, I don't know, okay, they would have cut up there and maybe folded it under or just glued it with a raw edge. I'm not sure, so I'll have to refer back to the pattern on that one. After pinning the cover out, I can see that I'm going to need to take some of this cover forward, because I've got some bagginess in the second and third panel which really needs to come out, and I'd rather get rid of that bagginess first before I start tweaking the sides. There's no rule of thumb, you just basically have to watch the fabric, look where it's going, you've got to respect the fabric, it'll tell you where it wants to go and by how far. So I'm going to just tack up this front edge, okay, with glue. A lot of people use spray guns. Don't use a spray gun, guys. Just mask off your areas and just apply it with the brush. Okay, contact adhesive gets better and better the drier it gets. So don't be afraid that your glue's drying. It's still going to stick, as long as it's not like 2 hours later. But it'll still stick after 2 hours. But 20-30 minutes is fine. So I'm going to just gently and quietly glue that front edge and glue the fabric, and not get splashes everywhere. But I've seen guys like spray guns like spraying up around these edges. It's people's beautiful cars. I saw one guy on YouTube who had an HR Holden Monaro or something, nice golden thing with a black stripe on it, and the dude that was doing the wood lining, man, he was using a spray gun. I'd be freaking. You just want to be accurate with everything, like accurate with the glue that you put on and where you're putting it, and just bloody slap this stuff on. You make a mess, and you can potentially make it harder for yourself as well. So where those black marks are, I'm just going to glue about another centimetre, about a centimetre, 10 mil past those black marks, because we've got to get a bit of glue into this gap here. There's a gap there. We don't put glue on that. Put glue in that gap there. Once it's glued in position, then you just fold the excess into this gap and just poke it in with a flat edge. That was a sort of a secondary area of importance. The primary area of importance is the flat surface of that strip that we screwed up yesterday. This is the strip that I cleaned the glue off, remember? Okay, so now that your glue's touch dry, you're okay to flip it up. Now I'm going to flip it up in the centre first. I'm just going to give it a little pull, don't pull too hard. I'm just going to tack it in the centre. You work your way out to the edges. Go a little bit more there, a little bit out there. A little bit there. That's really good, man. Yeah. Oh, that looks really good. Yeah. Okay, so that's the front sort of tacked off. Okay, so remember how we overglued it by about 1 centimetre? So you just want to cut off the excess, leave your centimetre. Don't cut all the way to the corner because you're going to need to put a fold in there somewhere. We don't know where yet. Only cut the fabric that you know you can get rid of now. We just fold that surplus up under there, and with I use an upholstery regulator and just flatten it down. You could use pliers, I guess, if you didn't have anything like this. If you leave too much fabric on there, if you say 2 centimetres or something, what's going to happen is as you're trying to fold it back into this little cavity, it's going to stick on the glue which is up there, because when you're gluing with the paintbrush you're getting glue on the top and the bottom surface. Just try and be neat and precise. If you're pulling something too hard, there's going to be puckers appear in areas where you might not realise or notice. And that is going to kill you later. It's going to trip you up later because you won't be able to get them out because you've already glued other areas. Okay, so that's really nice. No puckers, nice straight seam. Okay, so now I'm going to start at this seam and work back. Okay, so that seam, I'm not going to do that front corner yet. I'll do that front corner at the very end. Later on, we're going to do the back window. That's really crucial. That's where everybody makes their mistakes and gets puckers. We won't get any puckers. That's how they've had it in the factory. It'll want to flop that side or the other side, it doesn't matter, but it's still wrong. If it's like that, you've got 3 layers on one side and 1 layer on the other, gives you a step. So I'm just going to glue these 2 seams now. So I'm going to glue between there and there. So you just drop a bit of glue on each side and in the centre. Okay. Run your glue along there. Open it out first. Put some glue on there. And then just glue up each side. Now I like to put a little bit of glue in behind on the steel. And as you can see, I'll just glue up to the tape. Don't like excess glue everywhere. Okay, I've glued those about 5 minutes ago. They're ready to go. But I forgot. I'm putting retractable seatbelts in this car. And so that bit of the B-pillar there needs to be covered. I totally forgot about it before we clip up the hood lining around it, because that's the hood lining material goes over the B-pillar fabric. So I'll quickly whack a couple of those up first and then I can carry on with this. See, you can relax, you've got plenty of time. That glue will still work brilliantly, even though it's dry. There's a tiny little sort of weave or texture through this fabric, and you just have to make sure that all fabric runs in the same direction. So when you're gluing fabric, you just like vinyl's okay, but fabric you just got to be a bit careful. You don't get big heavy wet spots on it, because what will happen is that'll bleed through into the fabric and you'll set from the other side. So just go easy. It's good. Righto, so that's the front two seams totally finished and glued off. Now we're up to the B pillar and the next two seams. Okay, so we've done 1, 2, we're going 3, 4. Do not touch or glue past seam 4, because you need to do some work at the back window before you can carry on to seam 5. Okay, it's looking fantastic. Okie dokie, so we've done the 4th seam. Looks amazing. I don't believe that this video is going to actually show how good it looks, but we need to take that piece of cover and we need to do around the back windscreen to about here, just past the curve, and that'll take the cover through on that line. Okay, so we know we're good at that point up there at seam 4, so we need to take that slack out through there. Okay, so we're going to pull it through to here. We're going to leave this section here and we're going to leave that section there for the minute. So look guys, the really important thing to remember about doing around the back window is that's not where you need to be focusing. You need to be focusing on gluing that vinyl to the inside of the lip. Okay, it's got to fit in there, and then whatever's left is surely it's just rolled over and tacked off basically. So that's the edge I was talking about. Now, so technically what that's done, that's pulled the whole hood lining all the way through to the back of the car. Now you can do the 5th seam. Okay, still leave the C pillars, don't touch them yet, but you can glue up to the 5th seam.